Welcome to another episode of Random Ish with Sanja. What's crackin' lackin'? How you doing? So today I am super excited about this. Been waiting for this conversation, interview. I saw a movie. I saw the movie title and I saw the information. I was like, wait, what? I love vampire movies, but I like the cool ones, not like the little crazy ones. Grew up with the Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt. So I like vampires, but I didn't get into Twilight. Sorry. Wasn't into that. Sorry. But I have for us today the writer, the producer, the creator of the new vampire movie that I am so in love with because it's quite fun and it's not that scary because you know I don't like scary movies. It's Vampires versus the Bronx. Oz Rodriguez. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Very excited to be here with you. This is amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, what's so interesting is, so I saw that it said, oh, this is his first, project that he's done that's a feature film that you did for Netflix. And I was like, oh man, I really want to talk to him, dude. Right? And then I started researching the guy and I was like, oh my fucking God. I hit ding, like jackpot over here. You are an alumni, like unbelievable, the projects that you've worked on. This is crazy. How long have you been in the biz exactly?
Exactly.
Like how many years?
15 years. Professionally, like getting paid and whatnot or something like that.
Really? Your career's only 15 years long? The professional part, not because we're going to get into, I want to get into how it, really, really started, but the professional part, you've done this much in 15 years?
I think so, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so let's break it down. Let me tell you some of the things that he's done. So he is an alumni director from Saturday Night Live. What? Jackpot. Bing, right? Sketch comedy. Bing, right? I'm Funny or Die is where you got your start at. I have to know about this. Okay, wait, let me finish the resume. AP Bio that's on right now. Did you just finish that? I caught the first season. I like your sense of humor. For you to be in charge of that, I like that sense of humor. That's really dope. How did you get your first start? How did that happen? Your first break, not the team that you started with, but as you're on your own. How did that happen?
I got my first break actually as a team, and then
you did?
Yeah. So I went to film school. I'm from the Dominican Republic. I went to Los Angeles to go to film school, and after that, for a couple of years, I was struggling, trying to find my foot in the business and trying to make music videos, but the bands wanted me to pay for it, and I was broke.
Wait, what? The bands wanted you to pay to make their music videos?
Well, this was music videos are cool now, but for a second they weren't because MTV was out.
Oh,
and
okay.
that was the one place where you kind of saw videos. So the budgets, all that thing went out the window. And, we weren't able to talk to big bands. We're talking to bands that are starting out as well. They're broke as well. So,
right.
Then one day a friend of ours had an idea for a sketch, and I was working at film school with a friend, and at the same film school I went to, I ended up working there, and we started making shorts on our own using the equipment from the film school, and that led to an opportunity at a website called Super Deluxe.
Okay.
That was kind of a precursor to Funny or Die.
Okay.
So that was the first time I got paid to direct, and that was an awesome feeling. So we did a bunch of shorts. We did 30 shorts or something. And then this website lost. This was early internet in the 2000s where people didn't know exactly how to monetize stuff. So they shut down. And then I was out of a job. So I went back to film school to teach. At that same time, Funny or Die had started. So I sent a random DM to someone that worked there, and I got a meeting.
I love that. So it was a random
DM that got you right.
Hey,
the meeting.
this is this is us. This is things we've done. I don't know. Like, cool, coming from General. And that led to, they gave us a little bit of money to make a short. And from there, the higher ups of Funny or Die, like Will Ferrell, Adam McKay, liked it, and they gave us a job.
That is so awesome. Okay, so see, you're going right into, you just opened up the next question that I have for you. So you said that you came from the Dominican Republic. So when you were a child, were you like dreaming and thinking about storytelling? Was this something that you fell into, or is this a dream that you had since you were a kid?
I've always loved movies, watched a lot of television, maybe too much. I knew I wanted to be in that world somehow.
Right.
But like, I've been asked if SNL was a dream come true, and honestly, it wasn't only because I didn't even know you could do the things that I ended up doing there. Like, I didn't know that was even a job. So,
Right.
I always wanted to be in movie making or television making somehow.
Do you feel like that there was any synchronicities or like magic moments, I like to call them, or do you feel like you plugged away and that's what got your break? Because it kind of sounds a little more like a little bit of intuition of when you knew when to call and stuff.
I think it's sort of there's a lot of, you have to be sort of prepared for the moment, and there is some luck
Right.
that happens.
Right.
That CM was answered, but I've sent many emails that have been answered in life.
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
sometimes it only takes one. I think I've been lucky, but also sort of try to meet the situation head on and try to find a path and just try to stay busy, you know.
I like that. So I'm hearing it's a little bit of both, because they always say, like, when you hear people who have kind of like had their lucky break or whatever, they always say that there's a little bit of luck to it. You know, everybody says that, but they never really kind of break down what do they mean by that. And I kind of feel like it is the impulses. Do you have any inspiring vices? I like to call them inspiration vices. Do you have things that you do that keeps you inspired? Like you said, you had all of those emails where people are not answering, where you're kind of, I wouldn't say rejection, but it's kind of rejection. So are there things that you do that have kept you going before you started? I'm sure even now maybe you don't get everything that you want. It would be nice though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just sort of let it go and keep going to the next thing if I don't get a job or if something didn't work out. And I think that's something that SNL taught me. Sometimes you have a sketch that doesn't work out, but there's the next show and you could try again.
Right.
And some things are just not meant to be. So as far as go answer your question. I don't really take inspiration much on like the things I didn't get or something that I try to learn from everything, I guess. So it's more like a learning thing and just keep it moving, not trying to focus on like why something didn't work out. Sometimes sometimes a little self-reflection is good. Like, why didn't I get the job? Maybe I just blew it on the pitch meeting, and sometimes that happens.
Yeah, I don't know that necessarily that's always good, like type of like a self-reflection in a bad way. I kind of think more of self-reflections, and sometimes it's better to just be thinking about how far you've come along, and how certain things have, worked themselves out. That's the kind of the path that I like to be on. I'm not really into the whole like, well, where did I go wrong, and and what could I have done better? Because I'm more of a believer that we are all energy. Science is totally going into and seeing the entanglement of everything, and how, you think you're separate, but you're really not. And I like to call it the free Wi-Fi that's out there. So I kind of feel like people are tapping in, and that inspiration, that impulse that they get is from being in a space where, you're able to like kind of get that like aha moment or something like that,
Yeah, and I like to go for a walk.
There you go. That's your inspiration vice. I love it.
yeah, that, I would say that's a very big thing I do. Go for a walk to, sometimes an idea comes whenever and however, and you have no control over it. Sometimes it just comes when it comes, but I like to sort of overthink, and think it through in walks.
Right.
And sometimes you just need to take a walk to not think about the thing you're thinking about too.
Right. Well, as a director, you're kind of like you're creating what you see inside your head. You're kind of like you're the director of the show. How do you get what would you say that your directing style is? Because in my opinion, the director is kind of like giving the flow of whatever it is that you happen to be watching.
So the question was, what's my directing style?
Yeah. What kind of directing style would you say that you have? Are you very like particular, where it's like it's got to be like this? Do you kind of let the actors breathe? Or is it kind of a combination?
A little bit of both. I like to prepare as much as possible. It's a huge part of filmmaking that is not discussed about a lot because it's not glamorous. Like sitting in an office and prepping stuff is a humongous part of the job.
Right.
But I think you also have to prepare, know what you're doing, know the script inside out and the characters, and then also allow yourself space to be surprised, or allow yourself the space to have other people's opinions, like actors or cinematographer or whatever, because as much as you're a director and you're the decider of so many different things and questions and answers, you also are a collaborator. You're working with a bunch of people, and it's always better when you let people in and let the best idea win.
Right.
So I would say there's a lot of that, and I think I really enjoy my job, so I try to make it as fun and enjoyable as possible. And going back to that idea of like trying to have a set where people feel like they are involved and invested in the project, so that we can all make the best thing possible. And some of that comes with just like human decency.
Right. Do you feel that you got a lot of your teamwork skills from your early days, from when you were going to school and you guys... Now, I read somewhere that basically it was a group of you guys kind of like got together, you started making sketches and just kind of like doing your thing, just getting anything and everything on film. I freaking love that. So do you think that was really kind of like your foundation of being able to like have such an open mind when you're doing any kind of project? Because you're kind of doing different things. I've seen it's not like one type of, you know what I mean? It's not one type of genre. You've got the comedy, you've done now the feature film, you've got the sketch. I mean, it's all comedy based, but it's not the same. Like, I don't feel, when I looked at your different projects, I don't feel like I was watching the same thing. So
that's great. That's cool. I love that. I want to do as many things as possible and sort of challenge myself. And there was another question in there that I had an answer to. But...
I know I have.
That like doing all the sketches with my friends, we were doing all the jobs, so it is helpful to do all the jobs if you can, or have a little experience so you see the importance of every job and how hard it is. It could be in the sound department, to be camera, to be props. So it definitely helps.
I'm over here cracking up because I am literally a one-woman show over here, and trust and believe, I'm like, I completely understand. Yeah, you know what I mean? It was different when I was working with, because I'm a radio. I come from radio, 20 years of radio, and so that is literally just me by myself in a room. That's why I was like, oh, he wants to do audio? Psh, no problem. I'll be anywhere. I can do that. TV and film, and doing the podcast on video. What? I am like, this is completely different how I move my hands, because I like to talk with my hands, making sure they're staying in the frame, the set back here, the camera angles, figuring out, oh my God. It is definitely like hats off to all of you guys who, and all of my friends that are in the industry who are doing the dang thing and those who are coming out. So I have a question for you. For those who are just starting, or even like myself, who are just now dipping our toes in a whole different pool of entertainment, since you got your start, like doing these comedy sketches, this is why I'm like, this is so, I love it. 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 You come from the Dominican Republic, you go to school, you meet your friends, you guys do a whole bunch of just crazy stuff. Before I get into that, but what's the craziest thing that as teenagers, because you guys were teenagers, right? I love the face. He's like, oh. What's the craziest thing that you guys did to make a video that would, quote unquote, go viral?
I think it's like, when we started, which sounds like a million years ago, it was, viral wasn't even a thing yet. It was just, we just wanted to make videos and like, I'm talking like early YouTube. This is 2000. So like when YouTube started.
So you're talking about like 2008.
2008. So we started before YouTube in 2006 doing stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So when I tried to do viral, I just sent everyone I knew an email. That's what I did. I was like, hey, this is our new short. Let's see, let me think. I mean, we made a lot of dumb things, like, some of it's, like, embarrassing. Like, we had to, like, I don't remember why we had to make, is this a PG? What's the rating on the show?
Yeah, whatever you want to say. Some are
PGs and some are not, so do your thing.
I don't know, this came to mind. We had to make so you had to have a conversation with a makeup artist because we needed some prop fake human balls.
Nice.
The conversation, I remember.
Right? She's like, you want what?
Okay. So no, but I remember like shooting in places we probably shouldn't have been shooting at, like under bridges downtown and stuff like that.
Right.
I was in LA at that point.
Hopping and things like that, where you guys like hopping fences, breaking into, like, maybe not breaking into, but like definitely being on your trespassing property.
Yes.
Awesome. See, I love that, you know? And the hot dog days, did you have the I love hearing about like the starving artist days, the hot dog, the ramen days where we didn't really eat anything because we were putting all of our money into trying to get stuff. So did you have that rite of passage as well?
Yeah, but you know what? We always, and this is something I would say as an advice, like if you can squeeze in some money, if you got people helping you, if you can squeeze in some money to get a pizza, it goes a long way.
Right?
If you can feed people, even if it's pizza, it just goes a long way. It's really helpful. That's something we always did. Of like, we got to get a pizza for the crew, and like, because sometimes, you know, if we could, we try to help them, pay them, but you know, sometimes you're asking for favors. But I would say try to save a couple bucks for a pizza. It goes a long way.
Okay, so for anybody who's out there now in the day and age, since we've got the viral videos, and now it is incredibly, I would say, just challenging, maybe some people feel like, to get anybody's attention because, you know, video is taken off. Now you've got YouTube. I think I saw even with the podcast, I think I saw there's like some odd million, I think 10 million podcasts or 1.8 million I think it was 1.8 million podcasts or something like that. I was like, whoa, oh my God. So I guess I got to be happy for any. Thank you for watching and listening. I appreciate you so much. You know what I mean? Type of deal. Do you feel like, what would you do now? So if you were starting out like brand new now, what kind of advice would you give yourself now? Now all of the things that you know.
It's still the same as far as like, it's still all about getting experience and doing the thing. Like if you want to be a director, you can go to film school and it costs money. But I feel like I really learned after film school. Like when I started doing it and you start working with actors and you start like hands-on experiences where I feel like I really, really learned. So I think it's just doing the thing. Like if you want to be a director, just start directing stuff on your phone with your friends, and you'll be really frustrated at first because it's not feeling or looking like the thing you envision in your head. But
you gotta do it anyway. Yo, you gotta do it anyway. Like the thing I've got a whole nighttime like set in my head. You know what I mean? I've got dancers coming out. I got a band. You know what I mean? I'm DJing before I sit down. Like I've got this whole thing going on in my head. But you know what? If I just waited, you can't always do that. And I too, when I started radio a long time ago, I started going to school for it, and then I went to the station, and I'm like, this is why I ask people these stories. I personally went to the station after being dared to, and I said, hey, I don't care, I'll wipe their ass and bring them donuts. Can I get an internship here? And the lady started cracking up, and she was like, oh my God, you're so funny. And she was like, wouldn't you rather get paid? And I was like, yeah. And so I went from being a board op, and then another chance meeting, I met a host for talk radio, and we hit it off, and he was like, yeah, my co-host sucks, like, so will you come on? And it just kept being one thing that just fell in place after another, and so of course radio has changed, and so now we're going in a new direction, but I always find it very interesting how other people kind of have like a very similar, stories, no matter what it is. If you're a surgeon or if you're an actor or a director like yourself, we all have those. It's like a calling, so to speak. And I love that you've been in it since you were a kid. Is there anything that you would tell, now, not as a person who is starting off, but as a kid whose parents are kind of like, you don't know what you're talking about with what you want to be when you grow up?
Sorry. Did I advice for a future kid or a kid?
Yeah, or some kid who's listening to the podcast. So if their parents are kind of like, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know what you want to be when you grow up, or get a job, kid, or whatever. What kind of advice would you give them?
If you're super passionate about filmmaking, for example, I think just keep doing it. Keep doing it and prove people wrong. And if you're in the case where people don't believe in you, I guess hopefully people do believe in you. Young 11-year-old, I believe in you. So just, I would say, stay hungry, always learn, or try to be curious about the craft, and be creative as much as possible. Do the thing. Like I'm still learning. I'm still watching movies a bunch of times. I'm still watching YouTube tutorials on things, and like, I think there's never an end to learning. Like, I think I definitely got that from my parents. Like, they're still reading books about shit, and they should be retired. But I think it's certainly easier to do the thing now, and I think this next generation is so much more visually inclined. Like, I'm going to sound very old here, but some of the stuff that on TikTok as far as editing is really amazing. Like, the way they're putting these stories together.
Yeah.
So just keep doing it, because now, even more than when I was coming up, there is even more of a market for visual stories. And you see that in everything, not just like there's more channels, more streamings, more things wanted, but also like news is more visual. We consume so many more things visually. So there is a space for visual communication. And that's something you're super passionate. Just keep doing it. Keep getting reps in. Keep doing shorts with your friends. Try to one thing I also recommend is, like, if you're truly passionate about this, make shorts where you're like, okay, this short, I'm gonna concentrate on the sound and try to understand how sound works and do interesting with sound. Make another short where, like, okay, cinematography, what the hell is this? Or another short where, like, I'm gonna dive in with the actors and figure it out. Or because it's a lot of theory in film school, but in practice, it's really, I guess, where you make it.
I love that you're saying that, because it is true. Now, so I'm loving that you've given such great advice to the kids, because the Vampires versus the Bronx, dude, it's kids. Like, it was so, I loved it. You had them in situations, You had them acting like, being a little, you know what I'm saying, being a little, but yet they were still respectful of their parents. So how did you come up with this idea that it was going to be kids fighting the vampires?
Well, that was an interesting. I had like three things I wanted to do. So I wanted to make a movie that was more personal to me and involved Dominicans. This was December 2016. I was in the DR, and I was at a point in my career where I felt like I could do this. It was also the first month of the previous presidency, so it was a weird time that remains till this day. But I remember like being inspired because of that whole side. So like being like fuck it. I mean I remember also Jeff Sessions being confirmed, and he's on record saying Dominican immigrants are trash. So I'm like, well, fuck that guy. So I remember that moment being of like, all right, you got to do something. And then also thinking and remembering the movies I saw growing up that I really liked, like Goonies, Lost Boys, Back to the Future, all these movies with these kids against these incredible odds. And I was like, I think I'd like to do something like that, but I like related to these kids like Goonies, these white kids in Oregon. I think it could be the other way around too. So this sort of the thought process of like the puzzle pieces, Dominican kids, and then I always had back in my film school days and making dumb shorts, I had this idea with my friends about what if these vampires ran a building, and that was like as much as we had. Like, what if they're like
so New Jack City?
Yeah, they're like that was it. That's all we had, and I always had that in the back of my mind. And then the last piece of the puzzle was like wanting to do something Dominican. My mind went to Washington Heights, where a lot of Dominicans live. But talking to my friends there, every time, all of them mention at some point gentrification. I was like, Asian vampires, and then I remember the second biggest Dominican place in New York City, the Bronx, and I think there was like this light bulb. The puzzle pieces came together. The title came really soon, and that was it. We were off and running.
I was like, when I saw that, I was like, he's hitting so many different like facets. Do you feel like comedy's got to be a little bit smarter now? Because like I felt that you were kind of like using these different things as metaphors. The vampires, being those folks who want to kind of like homogenize everything, and you know what I'm saying. Also the energy suckers. There's like they're energy suckers. They take your energy, right? Okay. And then you've got these kids from the different backgrounds, but yet they're still together. Then you had the whole community kind of like come in. You know what I mean? There was like so many different, I felt like metaphors, and it wasn't like cheesy. You know what I mean? It was smart. Even the lines where you laughed, it wasn't like a cheap laugh, so to speak. Do you feel like comedy has gotten smarter? Is it, I don't know, is it challenging maybe the right word instead of harder? Is it more challenging now?
I would say I'd say yes and no. I think there's always been smarter comedies that usually comedies are the best ones are very funny, but also have smart or have sort of some emotional truth behind them, like our favorites. And some are just insane and ridiculous, and that's fine. Right. I would say it's sort of like been a mix. I think it's always been. I would say there's always sort of been the sort of highbrow and lowbrow comedy, I guess, if you will. But I think the cool thing now is that because the playing field is being expanded, there is recognition that there are many different audiences, and audiences want different kind of stories. So now I think it's very exciting to play in that field of stuff. But yeah, I would say I think it's maybe the people that are getting a chance to do it are different.
Right. Because the little boy, he didn't get to kiss the girl at the end. Like, so in like every other movie, you know what I mean? You know, he killed the vampires, he took over, you know, everybody came out, whoo, you know what I'm saying, all of that. And Method was in that too, right? So I mean, but you know, but it was more real, like it was smarter. It wasn't just your cheap, you know,
girl type thing.
I mean, one of the things I remember when I started out was like, this is a movie about New York kids, and New York kids are not are smarter, more adult than every other kid in the country, just because like they have to go out into the elements earlier in life, and they have to deal with shit. They have to get on the subway, go to school, and they're already exposed to the world before other people. And frankly, this movie, the real Bronx version is probably a rated R movie because the kids are, so yeah. So I felt like I needed, like, there's something I thought of too. Like these kids, it needs to feel like these are New York kids that are smart too, and
you did a great job.
It was kind of like I felt like reality. You know, there's movies or films that I feel that are very like cinematic, but this was kind of like real. You know what I mean? It was kind of like a reality, and I completely got lost in it. Forgot that I was watching a movie. I do tend to do that with really, really good movies. But this was, I just really want to congratulate you with that, because you made a great vampire movie. You made it for us. And it wasn't like so ridiculous, like, you know what I mean? Because I mean, we're like, if we see a vampire just coming up and it's gonna bite, like, that's really not gonna play out so well, especially like in, you know, with something based in New York. The way that you did it and the way that you told the story, because this is not only just a project that you directed, like you were a creator all up on this thing. This is your baby, and it was great. So I just wanted to have a conversation with you and say, dude, you did awesome with that. Congratulations. I hope wish you many successes. You literally have so many other projects. I could talk to you for freaking hours. So if you want to tell them some of the things that they can definitely go and check out that and I know you got a new deal with Universal. Oh, like, no, seriously, guys, follow them on Instagram. What's the info?
Well, I've the last two things I did were so yeah, I have this deal Universal, and I'm developing a couple projects that hopefully I can tell you about later. Yeah. I'm not going to jinx it just yet.
We sending them good vibes.
Exciting. It's very exciting. Then I directed Kevin Can F Himself. Just got season 2. That was really cool. And then I did the Michael Che show too, and then I just did an episode of Keenan too. I just helped them out on season 2. I did a couple episodes there.
Hey.
And then I have a that I'm excited about that are more personal, but I am going to wait till they're real or more real before I tell you, because those are the ones I'm super excited about.
Oh, those are so awesome. That's so dope. Well, we send you good vibes and blessings and light and love, all of that good stuff. Thank you so much for working with this sis. Like, yo, you guys, like, this is one of those, like, oh my god, I've been trying to get this since I started this channel, but you know what, everything happens for a reason, and I love it because I never had the light before. I didn't have a microphone before. I have all of this the very first time that I was like, oh my god, I still want to talk to you. I didn't have all of this before, so you know, sometimes things you gotta just let them, you know, sift themselves out in the wash.
You prep, and sometimes you just gotta let it go and roll with it.
Right? I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out. Definitely go check out all of his projects, and especially you guys, if you love the vampire movies, you want to have a great laugh, go and check it out. It's on Netflix. Okie dokie. It is Vampires versus the Bronx. Thank you so much, Oz. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Too. Thank you so much for having me.
For sure.